Hey folks, welcome back to Only Best Fantasy Novels. My name is Robin, and today I can finally say I jumped on the bandwagon. I finally jumped on the bandwagon. I got my first taste of Lit RPG, and of course, I'm talking about reading Dungeon Crawl of Carl. I'm not gonna lie, I went into this book thoroughly expecting to not be as blown away or as enjoy it anywhere near as much as most people because I'm not a gamer. I'm not a gamer, and it just didn't seem like something that would quite work for me based on the comparisons like I've seen online where how people talk about this series and the few things I've watched on it basically. So you can imagine my surprise when I not only found quite a lot to enjoy, but I found quite a bit like an aspect of it I didn't really see spoken of before that I'm very much looking forward to discussing on my own. Anyway, what is Dungeon Crawl Carl about? Do I even need to talk about this? Long story short, it's an alien apocalypse. The entire world gets mined for resources essentially, and as part of that, as part of the business dynamics of that of harvesting Earth, the some survivors are essentially thrown into a dungeon, which is very much like a game setting, and that game setting is being broadcasted out into the galaxy, and it's basically just a game for survival. When you enter the dungeon, you have a chance to, if you make it deep enough, you do have a chance to survive. And what would you want to survive for? I don't know, but either way, you do have a chance to survive if you make it deeper into the dungeon, and it's all done for entertainment value. Like whoever came up with the idea for the dungeon in the first place, I guess they must have been fans of Douglas Adams and Matthew Woodring Stover. Anyway, so that's the general gist of it, which is and that's the general gist of it, and we follow Carl, who is honestly part jock, part loser, who ends up in the dungeon along with his ex-girlfriend's pampered, prize-winning Persian cat. Yeah, say that quickly 3 times. Anyway, so do I even need to talk about this series? Do I even need to make a video about this series? Like, it's blown up online. It's probably one of the most successful self-published series of all time at this point. Like, and like I said, I went into it honestly not expecting to enjoy it, but I did find quite a bit more to it than I expected, than I anticipated. So the heart and soul of this book, for me, the thing that made this entire thing work is a relationship between Carl and Donut, the cat. As part of the dungeon's dynamics, Donut gets increased intelligence and human speech. So between the two of them, like you get a deep sense of their relationship. They have quite a bit of witty banter between them. They're a very solid, very entertaining dynamic duo essentially, and like for me, they're the absolute heart and soul of this book. I don't think this. Not I don't think. I'm very sure this book and this series would not have exploded the way it did if it wasn't for these two. The way they interact with each other. Like Carl's your average jock type. He's a bit of a manly man. He's a bit of a loser. There's certainly quite a bit to him there. But at heart he just seems kind of like an average Joe with his own with a moral compass that allows Dinniman to have some fun with, and to just kind of dive a little deeper with what's going on with this whole alien apocalypse thing. And then you have Donut, who is very much think of the entitlement of your average cat, dial it up to 11, and that's pretty much Donut. Like these two, they're just fun to read. They're just funny to read. Their banter, their dynamics, the way they interact, that everything, they're just fun to read in that in that regard. So that being said, those two are not the only source of fun in this book. Like, the dungeon is very entertaining. It's very high octane, very action packed, because like we're literally thrown into it and we have to figure it out as we go. The entire thing is run by a deranged AI, is the best way to put it. And the book itself, from once they get into the dungeon, it becomes very action packed, very intense. Like there is quite a bit of info dumping, as can be expected with like from what I'm told, as can be expected with lit RPG, because this is very much a book that goes into the RPG aspects of it. So there's like skills leveling up and items and all these things that you go through, and that aspect of it is very present. It can be too much for some people, I would assume. It wasn't too much for me. Like the way the AI the way the AI is used to incorporate some of these dynamics, and so it makes it makes it very entertaining. And honestly, if I didn't follow something after a while, I just went with it. I just I didn't need to understand every single aspect, every single detail of it. I just went with it, accept and bless and go, and okay, fine. Like, I just treated that whole aspect of it as a magic system that I didn't necessarily need to care about until it came into play in the story in some way or form. So the whole, and what's really cool about this is that the AI that's running the dungeon, it has a sense of humor. Like the between the mechanics and the dangers that are faced in here, like it can be, it has like this absurdist satirical quality to it that it just amplifies the entertainment factor of it. So you end up with like this just entertaining, engaging story that can be quite relentless when it gets rolling. But the big thing for me about this book, the thing that I don't really see anyone discussing online, is the way it also takes time to kind of delve into the horror and the emotional impact of the literal apocalypse on Carl and as a stand-in for humanity, right? Because like obviously for a large swath of the book, you know, he's just scrambling to get his feet on the and understand this new situation he's in. But as he gets more time to really stop and think of what exactly is happening here, what it means, like he starts to confront the horror of the fact that the world is ended, essentially. Like, this is the end. This is a literal alien apocalypse. So, like, the world that he knows is no more, and even the remnants of it that do remain, they seep into the dungeon in just these dark, twisted ways. Because the cool thing about the dungeon is that it's comprised of elements found on Earth. So things are reconstituted, things are twisted and baked back into to create the elements that you find within the dungeon. So there's that. And as the story unfolds, like, it's quite clear that as much as Earth and humanity are very much a victim here, they're not the only victim. Like, there's absolutely no entity touched by the Sentai dungeon crawl that isn't a victim or isn't being victimized by the Sentai system in some way or the other. From the NPCs, from the crawlers, from the guides, you name it. Everyone is a victim in some way or form. Everyone is doing. This is not something they're necessarily passionate or interested about. This is something they're essentially forced into, in their own. Like, everyone has their own motivations, their own ideals. They can say no, whatever, but this is something they're very much forced into, and like it. In addition to all of that, like, it puts a different twist on the schlock value of this. Like, just the caricaturish, the grotesque way that some things are included, the way that just as the story unfolds, and you see the way that, like, some suffering is included in these kind of things. It puts a whole different twist on the story, essentially, and it does raise some moral quandaries that people in this kind of scenario would face. Things like the question of quality over quantity when it comes to life and living your life. Like, for example, what do you do with people who can't physically or mentally meet the demands of the dungeons, who are nevertheless in the dungeon? And then there's things like, you know, the needs, like the greater good. Then, like, if you're part of a group, do you do something that benefits only you at the cost of the group, or do you do something that benefits the entire group but doesn't necessarily benefit you as much? And this kind of thing, like the individual versus the community, in a world where, as is so commonly portrayed in pretty much every post-apocalyptic show we have, where it becomes a very much a dog-eat-dog world. Like, how do you approach these questions then? These are things that are baked into the story in very interesting ways. You're not necessarily slapped with it. It's just the scenarios that Carl encounters, and sometimes the way he has to just kind of stop and think with and kind of maintain his sanity in this entire situation. Like that's all kind of baked in there in its own way. And because of like these different things, like I ended up finding a story that it was not just hilarious, not just entertaining, but it had more depth to it than I expected, which was the biggest shock of this book for me. Like I didn't, based on what everyone talks about this series, like people always talk about like the humorous aspects. They talk about the relationship, like I knew about Donut going in and these kind of things, but you never hear anyone talk about this aspect of the story, and that was very exciting for me to see, because the fact that all of this is present, it tells me that even though this is the first book, this series has the potential to go in a way that I would find, in addition, setting aside the entertainment aspect of it, it has the potential to go in very interesting places then. So yeah, like this series has a lot of hype behind it, and with good reason. You know, it's very entertaining. I did the first book on ebook, and honestly, I had a good time with it. I came across some stuff online that made me think that I do need to try the audiobook from the second book. So from the second book, I will probably do it on audio, and let's see how that goes. But yeah, that's my take on Dungeon Crawler, Carl. If for some reason you watch this video, I don't know why everyone's talking about the series, so there's a lot of videos, content on it. But if you made it this far into the video, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.